Good evening, Bible gangsters. We have our biblical gangsters on the line. And get started. We're getting an evening reading due to the lack of time in the day. The day went by in a blink. We blinked and then it was done. Happy Friday, everybody. All right. We're getting into part 4 of Deuteronomy this evening. So let us begin with a quote. See how we can tie this in, as usual. Queen Anne was one of the smallest people ever set in a great place. This is from Checks and Balances by Walter Bagehot, 1826 to 1877. Queen Anne was one of the smallest people ever set in a great place. I feel entitled to do a little bit of historical research, but Queen Anne, I feel like that's a name that we can all recall. And what we can gather just from reading this quote alone, she's a very small, petite person with a very small, soft voice, but she had a very great and powerful, hefty role, right? She was a queen. All right, so thinking just about royalty, right? We think about royalty in that moment. We're going into a law of the kings, right? We didn't have any kings leading the Israelites. We had Moses, of course. He was definitely more on the timid side, especially just starting out. He was very reserved, very timid, maybe even a little bit socially awkward, quiet, right? But Moses definitely took his role of a leader very seriously, and what God put in him, he held on to it and did not let go. At this time, he is still preaching to the Israelites in his great final sermon. He is still alive at this time in Deuteronomy. He's giving them a great synopsis of everything that they've gone through together over the last 40 years, wandering in the desert. So we can tie, right, royalty and then Moses' nature into this. But yes, we're going to start out this reading of Deuteronomy with a quote on royalty, or not quote, but a line about royalty. And when the Israelites do have a king, right, this is what they are to abide by. And then we go back into the laws of the peoples and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and break down what part 4 is about. Starting out with chapter 17, we have, "The king, moreover, must not acquire great numbers of horses for himself, or make the people return to Egypt to get more of them. For the Lord has told you, you are not to go back that way again. He must not take many wives, or his heart will be led astray. He must not accumulate large amounts of silver and gold." So very good guidelines for keeping the ruler, the king, humble, right? The things that they acquire are supposed to be modest, keeping the quantities modest, keeping the lifestyle very modest. This is the role of a king when they do decide to appoint one over the Israelite people. And then we have some more laws and rules and regulations. If a Levite moves from one of your towns anywhere in Israel where he is living and comes in all earnestness to the place the Lord will choose, he may minister in the name of the Lord his God, like all his fellow Levites who serve there in the presence of the Lord. All right, so again, the Levites, the blood is strong with the Levite clan. If somebody moves away, or if somebody finds them that happens to be a Levite and settles in the land later, or what have you, they are granted the gift or the task of ministry. They're allowed to do that. The blood is very strong. We've talked about that before with the Levites. Then we go on and continue. "The Lord said to me, what they say is good. You may say to yourself, how can we know when a message has not been spoken by the Lord? If what the prophet proclaims in the name of the Lord does not take place or come true, that is a message the Lord has not spoken. That prophet has spoken presumptuously, so do not be alarmed." So again, giving guidance on prophets. Prophets were a little bit different than those of the Levite clans. Of course, people who are Levites can also be prophets, but the prophets are not restricted to be only a part of the Levites. They can be from really anywhere and anybody, not just even the Israelites. So that's why this is here. Why? How do we know that a prophet is speaking the truth? Wait to see if it comes true, right? Prophecy, wait to see if the prophecy comes true. Then you will know they are being guided by the Lord. If for some reason something doesn't come true, it doesn't necessarily mean they're not guided by the Lord. It just means they were spoken on presumption, right? And it says, do not be alarmed in the case of this. Do not discredit them entirely. And it says here, this is why I command you to set aside 3 cities for yourself. Do this so that the innocent blood will not be shed in your land, which the Lord your God is giving you as your inheritance, and so that you will not be guilty of bloodshed. The 2 people involved in the dispute must stand in the presence of the Lord before the priests and the judges who are in office at the time. So again, we have the 3 cities of refuge. This is like a safe haven for criminals. I wouldn't call it like a prison island or anything like that, but it's similar. If somebody is guilty of a crime, they could go there, work out their beef with whomever, and then also they are required to go stand in front of the judges and the Levites to go ahead and resolve any matters as well. We do not want to desecrate the land, right? We have the land that's set aside for the bad things to happen, and the land that we're all living on together is not to be desecrated with violence or bloodshed. And it says here, has anyone become pledged to a woman and not married her? Let him go home, or he may die in battle and someone else marry her. So this is a little side note here on marriage. If somebody is in battle and he is pledged to marry, let them release them, right? Don't keep them in battle, or else the fate of their relationship may change completely. So that's something that we don't really do. I mean, there's a lot of military families that might be engaged, or maybe they do get married beforehand, but oftentimes they are set into battle. But we see this in the Bible as something that's not morally correct, because it can change the fate of a whole sacred marriage, right? Something interesting. Then we go on to chapter 20. It says, however, in the cities of the nation the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, do not leave anything alive, do not leave alive anything that breathes. Completely destroy them. The Hittites, the Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, as the Lord your God commanded you. Alright, we have some D&D, some death and destruction. Again, this is before they've even moved across the Jordan into the land. Moses is preempting them. He's encouraging them. Destroy them. Destroy. You need this land. This is your inheritance. Destroy the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. Again, I don't go into genealogies or anything like that, looking up the word roots of these different clans, but they kind of sound like a little grungy, a little bit, just the way that it's phrased and the context that it's in. Again, we are together as one. We are together as one people, but this is the nature of the time, and this is a living text. I know we have a lot of conflicts out and about here, so please try not to take it, so emotionally, if you will. It is serious stuff, but of course this is history, and history tends to repeat itself. Then we go on to read, and they shall declare, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done. Again, this is going back into the matter of judgment or witnesses to a crime, right? People are saying our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it done. Again, it refers to matters of violence or something like that, being just and fair, and it ties into much of the law we practice today, innocent until proven guilty, correct? I forget the context of this part, to be honest, but we can go back and look on your own time. And then let's see. This one too needs a little bit of context. I wish I had to put it in here, but when I was writing, I thought, of course, I'm going to remember what this is talking about, but this was days ago, and the days behind me are just completely wiped out from the memory, almost. So let's just read it and see what we can gather here. She must acknowledge the sign of his unloved wife as the firstborn, by giving him, he must acknowledge the sign. Unloved wife, I think it's he, I'm sorry. He is in the husband. He must acknowledge the sign of his unloved wife as the firstborn by giving him a double share of all he has. That son is the first sign of his father's strength. The right of the firstborn belongs to him. So now that I'm remembering, this is an instance of those who have two wives, and maybe one of the wife is unloved or not as good as the other, yada yada yada. Could be like a slave relationship or a servant relationship, something like that. Regardless of the preference that the husband would have, he still needs to honor whomever has the firstborn son. That son still needs to be taken care of and doubled, essentially, because that was the nature of things. The firstborn always got more than the less, or the secondborn. It's kind of something we don't really practice anymore, but of course it's something that was done then, so just to keep that in mind. The firstborn is a very important thing in history, and it still is in a lot of cultures, but of course we try to equalize things a little bit. See, if you come across a bird's nest beside the road, either in a tree or on the ground, and the mother is sitting on the young or on the eggs, do not take the mother with the young. So again, this is, I had to look up some context for this one too because it's such a random example. What I found was this was just an analogy for taking care of nature and preserving nature. It says if the mother is around, right, you cannot take the eggs for yourself. That's a very selfish act. If the mother's not there and it's just eggs that are edible and you're hungry, go ahead and take them for yourself. But if the mother's around, no way, those eggs do not belong to you. Leave them be, even if it's on the ground. We could see that as a sign of neglect if it's on the ground, but of course that could have been an instance of nature or something. We do not mess with nature. We don't, separate a young and his mother. So again, the references that I found were just associating this with care for nature and care for animals. But we can draw this in modern times about separating a mother and her child is not ethical. If the mother is alive and around, even if she's not well, maybe she's on the ground, maybe she's having a hard time and struggling, still not ethical to go ahead and separate the mother and her young or her child, right? If we're talking about two humans or human people, right? A human relationship, it's not very ethical. It's something that is practiced, right? We have the, I don't even know the term, even though it's so widely used. I guess it's a little bit sensitive, so it's not coming to me. But you know what I'm trying to say, I'm sure. Let me go on. It says, you may take the young, but be sure to let the mother go, so that it may go well with you, and you may have a long life. So in the case of, unfortunate circumstances, do not take the mother with the young. Okay, so unfortunate circumstances, maybe the mother has rejected the young, she can't manage it, the eggs fell on the ground and they're dirty or what have you, broken, she does not want to deal with that anymore, then let the mother go along and then you can have the eggs or the baby birds or what have you. It's an interesting example, but I do find it represents some kind of symbolism or analogy. Listen to my words. Symbolism or analogy that goes on with modern day. So again, use discretion, have respect for people and their families, have respect for nature, of course, and that is that. That's all I have to say. 13 minutes in. We're going to get into part 5 and 6, and I think I'm going to leave it there in the days to come. Let's see if we can split up these final readings here into 2 parts. Yeah, I think we can do it. If it's not 12 parts, it's going to be 6. That is kind of what I'm aiming for here. Yeah, that's it, you guys. God bless you. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your evening.